Hello, everybody, and welcome back once more. Now, I have Lynn Flowers with me again. We started a conversation and really only got partway through it, didn't we, Lynn?
Is
Quite some time ago now. I think it was before Christmas, because
yeah,
since that conversation, you're wintering in Egypt, aren't you?
I am. I'm
Which makes,
wintering in Egypt and
yeah,
enjoy.
makes me very jealous.
Yeah,
I
it's good.
just
Yeah,
saying to them, we've seen today we're seeing the sun for the first time in quite a few days here, which is gorgeous, but it's blooming freezing to go with it. So
sure,
yeah,
sure. Yeah,
looking at
I'm
us
not
sitting
missing
there.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I'm not missing it.
yeah, we're going to sort of somewhat pick up the conversation, aren't we? And kind of move forwards with it. And we thought we'd start by really talking about, because both of us, I mean, we've had chats about this in the past, the kind of challenges that a starseed faces and the qualities that we need to develop in order to meet those challenges. And in fact, I was thinking about it walking the dogs this morning, as you do. And you know, a lot of the challenges are really designed to make you develop those qualities. So yes, there's an element of testing that none of us are immune to, because we have to have a backbone, don't we? More than
Definitely.
anything, we have to be good for our word. If we say we're going to be there, we'll be there. If we say we're going to show up and do the work, we'll show up and do the work, and we won't cut and run. So yeah, it's developing those qualities. So yes, over to you, Lynn, and welcome. I've been burping.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's sort of we reinitiate ourselves every lifetime, don't we? It's us doing
Yeah.
the initiating ourselves, our I am presences, and
Mm.
more that, making sure we're up to the job
Yeah.
and making sure that we are at our sort of we're coming up into the level that we should be, that we always probably do operate every lifetime.
Yeah,
Uh,
so you know,
yeah,
we come from our oversoul, our
yeah,
monad level, into this tiny little body. We take
yeah,
on a personality overlay, and that
yeah,
personality overlay has all sorts of quirks and
yeah.
and weaknesses,
Yes,
you know, that are built into it,
yeah,
because it's part of the testing process and part of the spiritual evolution process. But also, you know, we're born into families, we're born into societies which bring their own challenges,
yeah,
and you know, try to box us in certain ways. I mean, as women, we're very familiar with that, how particularly given our age, you know, back in the day, as it were.
yeah.
I mean, I was offered three careers at school. One was a teacher, one was a secretary, and one was a nurse. And that you know, the sum total of the expectation for me as a woman,
Absolutely.
because I was obviously going to go on and be a mother and blah de blah de blah. Yeah. So yes, you know, all of these overlays form the personality self, but we are more than the personality self, and we have to train the personality
Yeah,
to be aligned with the soul and the oversoul aspects of us in order to
absolutely.
be fully effective. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I do firmly believe that the personality, a soul has a personality. I feel that
Mm.
they do, and there's a flavor of that running through every lifetime. But yeah, we've got to make sure that the personality is totally on board with what we've agreed to deliver and be and do and experience. And that's where, we have those inner battles going on, don't we?
Yeah.
Where, the personality ego doesn't actually quite want to do that, or feels it's a threat, or it's too dangerous, or whatever, or it's the unknown, the fear of the unknown,
Yeah. Or
which is
maybe, you know, you've been born into a family that isn't emotionally supportive, or maybe is abusive at some level, and you know, so natural confidence isn't there, because it's, you know,
yeah,
the struts have been taken out of you very young. Who you are, you know,
Yeah.
as a unique individual hasn't been celebrated from an early age, let alone encouraged to come out. So you've learned defensive mechanisms and all sorts of things to keep yourself safe. And those have to be unlearned. But I would also argue, and I take this very much from my own experience, that actually learning to be self-sufficient in the way that I've had to be as I grew up, because I just never fitted in anywhere, to be frank with you. I didn't fit in with my family. I didn't fit in with my peer group or anything like that.
Yeah.
So learning to be self-sufficient has been part of testing my strength.
Yeah.
And you know, was I going to go into a puddle and just become a people pleaser, which I was for a time, in all fairness. I was for a time, just become a people pleaser in order to fit in order to be part of groups, and, you know, really take on a complete personality overlay in order to fit in? Or would I find the courage to step forwards and say, well, actually, this is who I am, and
Yeah.
you know, I may be Marmite to you, which for those who don't know, Marmite is a you love it or hate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's it.
if I'm not your flavor, well, you know, so what? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And also for those of us that have come from abusive backgrounds, or have been targeted, or you know, however way it's been presented, then you have another host of problems on top of that, where you're carrying those wounds, the inner child, you know, the wounded inner child, or even fragmented inner child, depending on what level of abuse you've been under. And then you've got that to contend with and to overcome, and that, of course, alone, abuse gives you low self-worth, low self-esteem, people pleasing, phoning, all
Mm.
sorts of things that you do to compensate for this horrible wound that you're carrying. So you know, you've got that to overcome,
Yeah.
and then step into your starseed identity as such. So you know, it's not an easy, it's not meant to be an easy walk. It's
Mm.
not. If it was too easy, then we would be not testing ourselves, because we always, as
Yeah,
I say, you grow and expand, would you?
yeah,
Or come
yeah,
to your full power of who you truly are. And
yeah.
that's,
Uh,
you know,
yeah, I use the analogy of, you know, the only way you test, you strengthen a muscle is to use it,
absolutely.
and put it under pressure.
Yeah,
And you know, for us to grow our muscles, as it were, we've been put under pressure in all sorts of ways, some more than others.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and some have, you know, like you, have taken on, you know, very abusive backgrounds, have come in order to help clear
yeah,
some of that miasm,
yeah,
that trauma that sits in the collective consciousness, to learn the tools and techniques needed to rise above it and move beyond it, so then you can help others. Because this is what you see time and time again with star seeds, is that they teach what they've learned, and the learning has been, you know, in the life experiences, the testing, and you know, it's often been very difficult, but you absolutely embody whatever it is you have to pass on. You absolutely embody it, because you've been there, done that, got the t-shirt in spades. So it's never coming from head learning. You
no,
know, there may be an element of book learning, you know, in order to get a qualification or something like that, but it's embodied experience that the real healing and the real teaching comes from.
absolutely. And that makes the true, authentic healer, teacher,
Yeah.
writer, visionary, wayshower, whatever you want to say, leader, light leader, whatever you want to say. But that the true, authentic light leaders and wayshowers, they've lived it and embodied it,
Yeah.
and you know, want to make the most of that experience to roll it out to help others. I mean, it's just part of your natural makeup as a starseed, isn't it? And
It
healer,
is. It
who
is.
you are, to do
And,
that.
You know, when there was in the 80s, going back to the 80s and the early 90s, when a lot of star seeds, star seeds have come online in waves effectively, but there was a big wave in the 80s stroke early 90s, and the wounded healer was a big theme there.
Yeah.
Very big theme, wasn't it?
It
Chiron,
was
the
thing.
wounded healer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
And
if you
you,
can
it's
overcome that,
about becoming the role model. Mm.
yeah, absolutely. And for those that are struggling or just totally overwhelmed and can't really see the wood for the trees and can't find the tools to do it effectively, then of course you want to show them the way, don't you?
Yeah.
You want to say, follow this path. I've walked through. It's safe, and I came out the other end. There's a door, and the door's open for you.
Yeah.
Uh, just walk down.
Yeah.
And yeah, like any experience we've ever had, you include, what you've been through. You want to make the most of that experience. You don't want that experience to define you or to
Yeah.
diminish you in any way. In fact, you want to turn it around, don't you? And you want to show that that will not be wasted,
Yeah.
and I will use it to my advantage and
Yeah.
the divines,
Yeah.
So
You've made an absolutely brilliant point there, which is you don't want to let the trauma or the difficulty or whatever it is, the abuse define you, because that makes you the victim.
absolutely.
And so again, those who have made it through, I mean, there are some who haven't made it through, who have gone into victim mode and stayed there. And hands up, I've been in victim mode. I've
I
come
have too.
through when you know the
Yeah,
first realization of everything that have really gone on in my life came over me. It must have taken me 2 or 3 years to move my way through it all. And then to get to a point where you thought, I've done all the counselling and the navel gazing and the poor little me and why me and all of this crap. And then you just get to a stage where you think, I'm getting bored with myself doing this,
yeah, yeah,
going round and round in circles. I mean, I had several years of counselling. Lovely people, well-meaning people, but they keep you stuck. They keep
do.
going over and over and over it. And it's like, kind of like, even I'm getting flipping bored of this,
It's re-looping it.
Yeah, yeah.
But then it's one-dimensional healing. It's not.
And it's healing that comes from the establishment. They
Yeah,
are in the nicest possible way. This is the way the establishment, and that's short form for the control mechanism,
absolutely.
has put these modalities in place and given people nice
Yeah,
qualifications and things
yeah,
for it. Because if you don't really understand what it is you're doing, but you want to help people here, have this training and help people with their traumas, but what they're
yeah.
doing is keeping you in the bywave, aren't they? Looping round and round and round.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
taking you beyond it into the tri-wave, which is where
yeah,
you reconnect to
yeah.
source
And
and
you're in
move out of it.
you're in the
Yeah,
Lucian circuit, aren't
yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah.
The Lucian you.
Yeah,
Um,
it's the same with our
yeah,
medical establishment. I mean,
yeah,
you've got to be an idiot these
yeah,
days to believe that orthodox medicine is here to heal you. It's here to keep you. I mean, it's run by Big Pharma, which is a business.
yeah, absolutely.
And no business wants to lose its customers. So modern medicine or orthodox medicine is designed to keep you sick.
Absolutely.
Why wouldn't it? It loses its money income if you're not sick,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, so it's all part of the same control mechanisms, basically. Yeah,
To see through them.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, we've got to see through them and then find or find a solution for what we're struggling with. And that's easy, isn't it? When you ask for assistance,
mm,
show me the way,
yeah.
send me the right person, and you trust that and wait for the sign and the
Uh,
symptoms.
I mean, Lynn, you've made such a brilliant point there, because it's hand it over.
You hand it over.
So often it is bigger than you, isn't it? And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you hand it over.
yeah, yeah.
And that's where the surrender comes in. It's kind of like, I can't do this on my own.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah,
Saying I don't know how good at, well, no, I'm pretty good at surrendering. I've had to over the last few years of what occurred for me. And I'm sure that people have had traumatic things happen. And you have to surrender because you just no clue how you're going to fix it, how you're going to get out of it. So it's sort of like, I'm just surrendering it all. Just
yeah.
show me. Like, because I don't know where to start, really. I'm in a
Yeah.
mess. I don't know where to start.
That
And
was one of my real major issues that I struggled with was, how do I let go?
yeah,
And I was I was so tight. I was holding everything so
yeah,
tight because I
yeah,
felt so unsafe.
yes, yes,
Um, and I didn't know how to let go.
yeah,
It took me years to learn to let go and step into that trust.
yeah. I suppose, I don't know. I think I've had I think I must have had an extra, I don't know, an extra source of trust for some reason, because I've always had that. Well, it was the only thing, I suppose, faith and trust,
Yeah.
the only things I had when I was younger and I was struggling so much. And I think on some level, that faith and trust kept me going, uh, kept me going and kept me sort of existing really and alive to to a certain point where I could start to help myself and get out of it, of what I was in. But surrender, I teach that, to all my people, because if you're holding on, yeah, if you're holding on to something and
You
you
won't
won't
let
let
the divine in. I mean, the help is there, and this is one of the kind of spiritual truths, isn't it? The
yeah,
help is there. You have a team.
yeah,
Beyond the team, by God, there's an
yeah,
army just
yeah,
waiting to step in if it's needed.
absolutely. Yeah,
But we live in a free will universe, and that free will universe says you have to ask because they cannot interfere.
absolutely.
They cannot go against your own free will, and if you choose not to ask, they can't step in. It is such a profound realization that the surrender isn't, it's not a defeat. It's not a defeat at any level.
Not weakness. No.
It's a giving way into the greater will, and emerging back into the flow of source consciousness, really, because you sort of say, this stream of energy is too big for me to resist
Yeah.
on my own. And can I get in your boat, basically?
There's a little thing. There was a little thing going around on Facebook years ago a story of a guy stood on top of a roof in a flood, and the water was up at the bedroom level, and he was praying to God,
Yeah,
God, will you come and save me? God, will you come and save me? And a man comes along with a boat and
yeah,
says,
yeah.
get in. He says, no, I'm waiting for God.
Yeah, God's going to save me. So,
That is
and
God.
so, yeah, the version of the story I heard was it starts with a boat, then something else happens, and then a helicopter comes along. And each time he says, no, 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 I've handed it over to God. God's going to save me. And of course, he gets drowned. And then he gets up to the pearly gates and he said, I trusted you. Why didn't you save me? And he said, I sent you a dung, 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 and you turned them all away. So
So
that takes us to the next part of the lesson, isn't it? Listen.
listen.
Yeah, yeah. Be open because
Yeah,
help comes from unexpected quarters and in unexpected ways. It's not like um uh please my team, I need help, but I need it in this form and
yeah,
it's going to turn up as this job, or it's
yeah.
going to be it's not what you define, because that's the little you saying this is what I need, demand, demand, demand. When you hand it over and say help, you literally leave the parameters open.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then you pay attention to the signs. You go on alert.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the signs. Who's coming in? What's the songs on the radio? You know, what birds or creatures do you see suddenly crossing your path you don't normally see? Or,
Yeah.
you know, maybe a neighbor comes up to you and says something totally unexpected. It comes in so many shapes and sizes that
Yeah.
you would never think of.
No, you'd never think of, and you have to sort of train yourself, I feel, to look for the signs.
Yeah.
And I know people that have said before that they don't get any signs, and I said, yeah, you will. If you're asking for them, they'll be right. They'll be all around you. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking they must be just like a bit blinkered, if you know what I mean, and not really understanding that they come in many shapes and forms. You know, dreams and, like as you said, and songs on the radio, songs in your head.
Yeah,
Oh,
well, you know, it's a rare person who gets a very clear
yeah,
sentence or two in their ears,
yeah,
or, you know, get a being stand in front of them and deliver a message. I used to go, just tell me what to do. You know, all this subtlety is kind
yeah,
of like going right past me. I'm missing it. Can I have more clarity, please? But
we
eventually, I really did. It was, I didn't. They speak with the language of symbology a lot of the time, don't they?
absolutely. So you've got to sort of like try and work out what that means.
Read the signs, and this is why symbolism, you know,
Yeah,
in the esoteric,
yeah,
both on the side of full consciousness and on the Christos side, symbolism is very, very important,
it
uh,
is.
because it holds clues and it holds keys
Yeah.
as to exactly which stream that you know a consciousness is pulling from.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, you've got to be aware, and write down. You know, another thing, some, you know, it amazes me sometimes that people don't write down any guidance or
Mm.
anything. And you know, you go back on a journal. I've always kept a journal from ever since I awoke. You go back to a journal and you'll see it building up if you
Yeah.
read it back after
Mm.
you develop something, or you've completed something, and then you go back and look and you think, wow,
Yeah.
actually that was building up, that
Yeah.
was really, you know. So it's good to write things down because you forget. So if you wake up in the morning and there's a dream and it seems symbolic, if you can run it through your head and hold on to it, or something's particularly stuck,
Yeah.
you get it written down with the date.
Mm.
And even if you don't know what it means, I put an exclamation mark next to it. What does this mean?
Mm.
Okay. But I record it. So then, you know, and then it builds up as a picture, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Over
it
another
does. It does,
month.
you know.
Yeah. You got to be a detective. Like it's like cosmic detective agencies, you know.
Yeah, it is, and it's hindsight. You know, you look back and it, so many of the steps forward you take are steps of faith.
Yeah.
You know, you can feel the energy calling you at some level or another.
Yes.
You know, if you're tuning in to the
Yeah.
stream of energy, however you feel it,
Yeah.
you're tuning into the flows of the energy, and the energy is subtly trying to push you in a certain direction. If you follow that, no matter your, I mean, your brain will say, well, you can't make a business out of that, or you really don't have that kind of money, or what on earth are you doing that for? It doesn't fit in with
Yeah.
anything, you know, all of this kind of business.
Yeah.
But if you follow
Yeah.
3 steps down the line, you'll look back and you think, oh, now I get it. Now I get it. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, you've got to follow you in the knowing
Yeah.
against everybody else. There are plenty of people that will turn around who think they know better than you, that will turn around and say that's stupid, or I don't see that, or are you sure you've not got that wrong? And you get too many people also, I have to say, that will say my guides tell you you should do this, and you haven't even invited that guidance.
That's a big ooch, and that's a big no.
Yeah, and if you're, I'm going to say, if you're stupid enough to listen to them and go and be taken off track because
Yeah.
you're listening to someone else, then they'll pull you off track.
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10, those guides they're either dealing with false guides anyway,
Yeah.
and they're messing them around, or there's a deliberate ploy to try and take you off path
Yeah.
with that as a test sort of thing. And also, like, you haven't invited that information or guidance, and it's coming through their filters of their own fears
Yeah.
and their own issues and
their own ego, to be frank with
their
you.
own
I mean,
ego.
we've all been on the receiving end of this. I mean, I wouldn't call myself psychic from the point of view of, you know, somebody who hears voices or sees guides or whatever. I just don't work that way. I work differently. It took me quite a time to realize I work differently. So you know, I would feel a bit intimidated by people who were very definite about, you know, these are the messages coming through and this is what I'm being told you need to do. And it would be like, whoa, you know, part of me would be like, that doesn't feel right. But it would also, you know, then the little voice would come in, well, what if you're wrong, Sarah? What if, yeah, and you have to get yourself past that, because and realize that this behavior is unacceptable.
Yeah.
This behavior is unacceptable. This is
Yeah.
not what anybody should be doing.
No.
You know, if you go to somebody and you say, I'm in a real bind, I don't know which way to go, you know, I'm being pulled this way, but there's this and there's, you know, give me some advice, fine. But
Yeah,
be
that's
very careful who you ask it of.
yeah, absolutely.
And even then, you don't have to take it. You have to feel into it and think, does that feel right for me? But if somebody comes up,
Yeah.
and we've all had it, you know,
Yeah.
at a conference or a workshop or something like this, somebody barrels up to you and said, I've been told to tell you this, or you know, so, oh, for God's sake.
Here we go. Yeah, I know. I always thought, in my head I go, oh, here we go. Like,
Yeah.
and it goes in one ear and out the other.
And very occasionally somebody will come to me and they'll say, you know, I really don't know whether I should say this or not. And they're very humble about it and they're very hesitant about it.
Yeah.
And I will often listen to them because they could be part of that message being delivered via something, but it's the way it's done.
Yes.
It's the way it's done. And they say, you know, I've got you know, maybe I've got something to tell you, but you know, I don't know if you really want to hear it, or you know, they leave the door open in a way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's and then that leads on quite nicely maybe to discernment.
Yeah.
That's
a big one, isn't it?
Discernment, and I had a big lesson. You know, I was completely turned upside down in 2022, and I didn't know which way was up and which way was down, because I've been gaslit and I've been like completely. It felt like all of my inner knowing, all of my where I got my downloads have been completely just dissed all the time, because I was working with particular people, and then I lost a sight of where I was going. Do you know what I mean?
It's like you turn, you're spun round, aren't you, until you don't know which way is up.
And I just walked away and said, that's enough. That's enough. And I just had to completely reset, like and that was a big lesson evidently for me, that never ever ever listen, no matter whether it's a peer or whoever it is, never ever let them dictate to you on what your work is or where you're going with your work. You know, there's only you knows that, no one else. You know, which was a good lesson evidently, and I needed to learn it, you know.
So, you know, from my point of view, the discernment has really come in with finding what I call the truth frequency, or the golden thread. You'll often hear me talk about it as the golden thread, and that comes in the research, and you know, the downloads I get coming in against physical evidence in the outside world, and trying to make, well, how does this
Yeah,
history or this understanding of certain events that's different to this, how do I square one with the other?
yeah,
And it's following, seeing where in the story we've been told, usually there's an element of truth, a grain of truth. I've
yeah,
found that so often what we're told here, the truth is really the complete opposite. You do a 180-degree turn, but
yeah,
there's a kernel of something here,
yes,
which is really what can fool a lot of people, is because there's something there. They can feel there's
yeah,
something there, so they think it must be okay. Either
yeah,
that or they're just totally brainwashed.
yeah,
But it's
yeah,
pulling out and seeing where there's a core of truth and a tissue of lies have been built around
yeah,
it.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah. And it's following your own inner knowing of resonance of someone. If you're gonna listen to someone, then you gotta sort of feel into that, haven't you? What
yeah,
does your body do? What does your body do?
yeah,
Does it contract?
yeah.
Does it become uncomfortable? You
Mm.
know, because your body's a great truth barometer, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Uh,
And you just get your head out the way and listen to the
yeah,
body.
listen to
You know,
your body. Yeah,
it contracts when the energy isn't right, and it is your energy opens out when you're in you're in an authentic
you
flow.
become expansive, don't you? When
Yeah,
you
yeah,
listen to someone and they're on your truth frequency, I feel myself like my heart opens and I expand and
yeah,
I know it's truth. Like, I like this girl or I like this guy.
yeah,
He's talking my language. I like this. Whereas others, you know, you start listening and I can feel myself sort of
yeah,
contracting and going, oh no, you know, like I can feel
yeah.
myself
Uh,
getting,
uh,
I
uh,
know that it's not for me.
yeah, and it's often it's not that, this is a bad person or this is an evil
No,
person,
not at
although
all.
to be absolutely clear about it, true evil does exist and it is out there.
Yeah,
So always be aware.
always
Um,
be aware. And
don't diss it, because it's very, very real. But a
yeah,
lot of people have just been, they've fallen into traps, shall we say, and with the best will and the best intent. So their intent is pure, but their message is impure, shall we say.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Happened to me.
And,
Happened to
and you have
yeah,
to have the discernment to understand the difference between those two.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And,
You
and
know,
then and then not dive in and say, you've got it wrong. Because
yeah.
that's you doing exactly what you shouldn't do. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to, and it's a path of, again, it's a path of learning, and you'll get burnt many times before you actually start, you get the real message, and then you start to really be able to uh sort of interpret and work out what's for you and what isn't.
Yeah.
uh you know, when I first opened my higher channels, my upper chakras, and you know, you become a gigantic flipping receiving rod, don't you, for
Mm.
everything that's being broadcast in the universe. And I was getting the council at 12 coming forwards, I was getting this, I was getting that, like I was writing it furiously down, like, and then this group of light beings turned up. I thought I was the bee's knees. You know, because you're naive.
Yeah, as you say, council of
Yeah,
12, there's a
yeah,
council of 9 or 9
yeah,
something or
absolutely.
others, and
And
there's archangels this and
you know,
goddesses that, and
you think you're wonderful. You think you're wonderful until you start coming up in the levels of consciousness. And I was starting to call them out, and I was doing law of challenge, and then I got rid of them, and I thought, oh, they're not right. And then another group turned up, and I thought they were mine, and they weren't. It was hilarious. I
Mm.
went through probably three lots of light beings that I thought were true, and they weren't. But the test was,
Yeah, yeah.
I passed it,
Are you
which was,
gonna be fooled?
yeah,
Yeah,
you're going to be
yeah.
fooled, but not for long.
And you know what they do is they flatter your ego.
Yeah,
Sometimes one or two of the stories I've heard from people, I mean, it's really in your face. They're just out to stroke your ego at any level. Sometimes it's much more subtle than that.
Yeah.
But are you going to allow that ego stroke to seduce you effectively? Or are you going to say, well, that's all very nice and my ego feels good about that, but let me just go and stand over here and really feel into whether this feels right or not? Does this feel aligned? Does it feel in resonance? And then it's,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
I would,
Yeah.
I
Thank
would
you.
love it to be true, but it doesn't feel like it. Yeah.
I mean, for those of us that have been targeted, this is a slightly different thing, but for those of us that have been targeted heavily or have had some sort of programming, shall I say, it's even more fraught and difficult because they've already sort of they put programs in there. They've also put overlays in to almost what they tend to do is try and take away your identity. So they want you to be flapping around looking for these false guys or whatever, because they don't really want you to connect to your I am presence. So, and they'll sort of like give you a whole different story of who you're connected to, if you know what I mean. And that's really interesting. And I had a reading from someone quite well known. She's well known now. And she actually read the overlay. She didn't read the real Lynn.
Yeah. And
So that's
always the danger.
that's always a danger.
Yeah.
And that was a big lesson to me, even with what I do now. Like, is that an overlay, or I'm going straight in? What is that? Like, is that, and then push the overlay aside, and I can get in. But yeah, these overlays, it was fascinating. The overlay that was over me.
And
Yeah,
and false paths as well, because I mean, I got told on several different occasions. I mean, I said to you, I don't, have psychic senses like
yeah,
others do. Well, part of that is untrue. I have access into those fields in the way that others do. And when I was younger, in my 20s and 30s, on occasion, I would go and see a psychic.
yeah,
It's the thing me and all my friends used to do, and without fail, the psychic would always finish up the session and say to me, you could do this. You could do what I'm doing. And I had one of them, a lovely girl, and she actually went on to be very big in America. She moved over to America and got picked up by one of the celebrities in America and got a TV show and stuff like this. But at the time, she was in Redditch. You couldn't get more mundane than Redditch, could you? She was in Redditch, and I went to see her on several occasions because she said to me, you could do this. And she said, would you like me to teach you? She said, I wouldn't charge you. She said, I had help to get to where I could do this. And I want to offer it on, sort of thing. And I went and had 2 or 3 lessons with her. And then I had to say to her, and yes, I mean, she was showing me I could do this if I chose to train myself in a certain way. But I had to say to her, I really appreciate what you're doing, and I really appreciate your time. But this is not my path this time round. I feel that so strongly. This is not my path. It's a distraction. So my ego was saying, oh, you could be special, and
yeah,
all of this. But my higher self was saying, that's not what you're here for. That's not what you're here for.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, I always look back on that with a wry smile, because it was a potential trap. And
yeah,
she wasn't setting it. My ego was.
yeah. I
Yeah,
get you. Get
yeah,
you.
yeah.
So we gotta find where our real
Yeah, yeah. And again, it's
reward.
feeling into it. Just because you can doesn't mean to say you should.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and you see people really blunder in where angels fear to tread, because the ego is leading the way on things. I mean, grid work alone, let's just think of that. I mean, you and I have both had experience of people who've I've been told we need to do this, and no listening to the land, no listening to guidance. It's
No,
I'm being told, and you
yeah,
just think, oh, crunch,
yeah,
and their intention is often good. It's just delivered very badly, and
yeah, yeah. You've just got to, you've got to really, well, use discernment on yourself, on where are these messages coming from, and or am I getting confirmation? And if you don't get confirmation, then don't do anything.
yeah,
If you,
ask
yeah, yeah,
questions,
yeah, ask questions.
challenge.
Absolutely.
Challenge yourself. Is this my ego talking, or is this my higher self?
Yeah.
I'm constantly questioning myself. Am
Mhm.
I making this up or am I not? Can I find corroborating evidence of something?
Yeah,
I think it's this,
yeah.
but am I, is it just my imagination? I mean, not the amount of time I've been told. Oh, you've got an overactive imagination, dear, as a put down. But I just still do question that,
Yeah.
and like seek corroboration or seek a sign or ask my team or something. Have I got this right? And then a feather wafts down in front of me, or it's
Yeah,
like,
when
oh,
you really
okay,
need
thank you.
confirmation,
Yeah,
it comes in, doesn't it? When you
yeah,
really need it,
yeah,
boom, like, and that's that's the green light. Yeah, green light. Okay, go. I can do this.
yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah, always. I've always done. And if I don't get that confirmation, I hold it.
yeah.
Like,
It's in the
okay,
pending file. Yeah, pending
and
file.
yeah, yeah. I park it. I call it parking. I just
Yeah.
park it. And it's almost like the parking is floating in the air. I've got all these different things parked, and I'm sort of asking, well, what do you want me to pull down for? What
Yeah,
do you want me to pull
yeah,
down next?
absolutely.
What's most important,
Yeah,
because we're both epic creators, aren't we, really? We with what we do,
yeah.
courses and things I do, and your
Mm.
book, what you've done, courses and things. So you could be very busy creating all the time, actually, but you have to sort of ask the question ever so often, like, what's more important? What?
I can point you to times in my life where I've been a busy fool.
Yeah,
I've been very, very busy, but it hasn't been on target.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
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 yeah. I think we've all done that to some degree, but it's kind of like I've got to do something, and actually the something should have been sit quietly, open yourself up, blah de blah. But white Protestant work ethic, devil makes work for idle hands, and all this sort of thing. It's like I've got to do something, so you find something to do, but actually, it doesn't go anywhere.
I've got loads of unfinished projects in the past.
Yeah, yeah. Because
Anyway,
and I
yeah.
should have been sitting listening, and I found that very difficult. Again, it was another learning.
Mm.
The sitting in a chair, watching the birds in the garden, daydreaming, letting your mind wander.
Yeah,
Priceless.
priceless,
Rather than
absolutely.
feeling guilty,
Yeah.
priceless. Yeah. Mm.
So that's good. That I'm
Stuff
glad we
comes in.
discussed that. Yeah, I'm glad we
Yeah,
just.
another quality that I think it is absolutely vital is honor.
Yeah,
Really old-fashioned word. You don't hear it used much now, but honor. And that turns up in so many ways. Are
yeah,
you good for your word?
yeah,
And that's not just your word to others, it's your word to yourself. It's it's your word to upstairs. They need to know that if there's a job to be done and they call you to it, you will show up.
absolutely.
You won't say, oh, it's not convenient, or I need a lie-in this morning, or or I had a bad night. I was out on the tiles the previous night, or you know what, I just don't feel like it. Because there are times you think, do I really have to? And it's you drag yourself out the door, don't you?
You do. You
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
And I mean, look at me in Egypt. I actually didn't think I would be doing any work here. I mean, I was
I
stupid.
have to say, when you told me that, I did smile.
in here just for the sunshine and just enjoying Egypt and maybe, you know, writing a couple of courses here, like, oh, this would be great. But of course, the divine had other had other plans for me, and you know, they weren't going to not take advantage of me sitting in Egypt for 3 months.
Yeah.
So, you know, I had to like, oh, really? What do you want me to do? Oh, really? You know, like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
you do it and you
Yeah.
agree to it. And of course, because I want to be of service.
Yeah. And,
Uh,
that was, I mean, I very sincerely dedicated myself to that at a particular point, and from that point forwards, they have taken me at my word and used me wherever it was needed. You know, I was on my knees at the time. I couldn't make life work by trying to force it to be what I wanted it to
yeah,
be, basically. And it did. It brought me to my knees, and I just said, I give up. I give up.
yeah,
You know, I'm here, and my heart opened, and it was, I'm here.
yeah,
Use me. I'm in service to the divine, and whatever you need me to do from this point forwards, you know, I'm yours. And I've gone in very unexpected directions. But boy, by God, is it fun, and by God, is it rich. It's so rich. I mean, life has so much color in it, and you know, horizons have expanded so hugely. I could never have imagined it from where I was,
no,
you know, a long time in my tight little box, trying to keep safe and secure and everything. Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, so honor, you know, are you good for your word? And that turns up in all sorts of ways, doesn't it? It's not you make an appointment with somebody and it's kind of like, oh, I can't be bothered to show up.
yeah,
Or, you know, it's just inconvenient for me. Can we knock it into another day or something like that? Now, occasionally there are instances where
yeah,
something bigger comes through.
yeah, happens to me. Yeah, yeah,
It's
sometimes.
just, yeah. And people understand that, but I've had people, you know, knock me off, make appointments, and they're rearranged and rearranged and rearranged
Yeah,
um several times, and it's like, once, okay, we can wear it. Twice, you need to start thinking about what you're doing. Three
yeah,
times, you're having a laugh. You're really not serious about this. You're wasting my time. You're wasting your time. Yeah.
absolutely. Oh, we
Yeah.
do honor.
You know, that old-fashioned thing. And why is it old-fashioned? It shouldn't be old-fashioned. This should be, you know, an absolute core value within our
Yeah,
civilization. And it was at one time.
yeah,
You gave your word, you shook hands on it, but even just the act of giving your word, you made someone promise, you made a vow, you know, you made a very clear statement of intent. You
yeah,
shook hands on it, and that was it. You
yeah,
know, it was better than a contract.
yeah.
And
And
now
we have,
people, it's like, oh, if I can get out of it, I can weasel round it. Oh, I have my fingers crossed, you know, not clever.
and we've signed a sole contract. We've signed a contract to deliver something in its entirety.
Mm.
And I always think about that. And like, I don't want to let down what I said I'd deliver.
Mm.
You know, I don't want to do that. That I hate that. That's one of
Yeah,
my things is I hate letting people down.
yeah.
I like doing that. So you know, I have to do it to the best of my abilities at all times.
But it's more than that. It's letting the divine down, and
That's-
and it's letting you down. And this is the bit that people so often miss. They
Yeah,
let themselves down by not having integrity, by not behaving with honor.
yeah.
They hurt themselves more than anyone else.
You've got to come back and do it again.
Yeah,
Don't get away with it.
it pulls you out of alignment with your
Really.
divine path. Every time you cheat, lie, not good for your word, it pulls you out of alignment with your divine path.
It does.
So yeah.
And and don't think you won't have to come back and do that bit again. You will,
Yeah.
on in some shape or form, wherever it is.
Mm.
they will roll that back in.
Yeah, yeah,
To
yeah,
make sure that you learn that one.
yeah.
And I've there's another subject, like I've had some people say things like, oh, I've stepped back from doing work like this. I've had enough. I don't want to do anymore. And that's fine, but like I don't know whether that's ego or just like the
I think often it's tiredness, and
tiredness. Yeah.
people have been, in all fairness, I don't know about you, but I have points of exhaustion where
Oh,
it feels like you're constantly striving, you're constantly trying to hold a line, anchor energy, do whatever it is.
absolutely.
And to date, very little has been coming back at you. It's just been a constant battle to keep things at bay and to just hold your ground. Now, I'm seeing that beginning to shift. Finally, there seems to be a more of a flow coming through, which is lovely. But people people are tired, but it comes back to build a backbone.
Yeah.
It's not about, I've hit retirement age now. Slippers in front of the fire.
Yeah.
Sorry, sauce. I'm hanging up my hat.
Yeah.
We came here for the long haul.
Absolutely.
I could retire. The government is now giving me my old age pension. Thank you. Very welcome. But my work's barely begun.
Yeah.
My work has barely begun. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I've
Part of
had
me is exhausted by the thought of it, and part of me is so excited.
I've had my moments.
Yeah.
I've been on the floor, head in hands, on
Well,
my knees, going, it's too much.
yeah,
Take it off me. Whatever you've given me, it's too much. I can't do it. It's crippling me.
yeah,
Take it off. Times where I've had something really bad happen,
yeah,
or
yeah,
well, then I've caved a bit, and no wonder under the
yeah,
psychological trauma of when I had what happened to me in 2024,
yeah,
that took me to my knees,
yeah,
and I was like, I can't do this anymore. But of
yeah,
course, it was that I was just overloaded,
yeah.
and I had to offload something, you know.
I've been in that space before, and I don't know where I heard or learned or read this phrase, um, but it comes in and it beats in my head every time I've been in that state, and that is that gods do not give you anything you're not capable of coping with.
Absolutely.
So it's like you feel like the cupboard is bare. There
Yeah.
is still something there for you to pull on, and you will rise above this because you have the ability to do it. And that is what they're looking for. They're looking for the ability to get up off your knees and
Yeah.
keep going forwards, because then they know you're good for the task.
Yeah, you're good for the
They
task.
have tested you to destruction and you've still come through.
Yeah. And then, of course, you then call down more of your power, more of your innate power that you have as a soul and your oversoul.
Yeah.
You call that power is then given to you more because you can handle it and you can apply it and you can use it
Yeah.
without misusing it or abusing it. That's what I found. Probably you might have found like that, Sarah, too. But for me, every time I've had a breakthrough like that, I've become more powerful afterwards.
Yeah, and I think you've made a very good point there, because what we're accruing as we gather that strength and as we come into alignment with source energy, source is powerful, and that power, we begin to gain access to that. Now that can be abused.
Yeah.
And it is being abused. I mean, just look at what's going on around you.
Yeah.
And so again, part of the testing is can you handle power in the right way, and power to protect, power to guide, power to open up, power to heal, power to enable, power to bring down and anchor what's right and what's needed, as opposed to power for me, control, domination. You know, I'm more important than you. You know, my needs are paramount. That's the, you know, that's the abuse of it.
Yeah.
You know, and we've all been tested in, you know, and had it dangled in front of us. I mean, I have a very clear memory of a life as a or the ending, shall we say, of a life as a Catholic cardinal, and being very sure that, you know, sticking heretics on bonfires was what God called me to do.
Yeah.
Because I had been utterly indoctrinated into the group mind of that. And on death, as you pass over, that realization of how I'd abused that power. I mean, just I mean, it doesn't leave me. That memory doesn't leave me. How I could have been so wrong, being sure I was so right.
Yeah.
And it's informed everything, and to the extent that it's taken me a long time to pick up my power this time round, because I've almost been frightened of it because I know how it can be abused.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, you know, it's not being frightened of it, but we need to be wary of our motivations and constantly question them. And again, it comes back to honor, it comes back to integrity. It comes back to, you know, having these qualities like a stick of rock that that is just at the central core of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And nothing can waver you or take you off that core.
Yeah,
You know, and when you've got that core and you've anchored it, then it's so much easier, isn't it, to
it
feel
is. Yeah.
you're off. When you're slightly off, you can feel it and you pull
Yeah.
yourself back, you
And,
know.
you know, you may get attacked, but it kind of bounces off. When you
Yeah.
get to that stage, it's almost a bit like you're Teflon coated to a large degree. Not to get cocky about it, but actually just that means that you're like a lighthouse standing on a rock, and the waves can come and batter you and attack you, but you stand firm.
Yeah, you stand firm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we need as many of those as we can right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the storm coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the storm upon us, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's broken, hasn't it? It's like we're standing here, just anchor, anchor, anchor at this moment.
yeah, because
But
we
I don't know about you, Lynn, to, you know, to maybe finish on an up note. I see the light beginning to break, and I see it beginning to break so strongly.
yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
I do feel we're on an upwards spiral now. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're going upwards.
yeah, yeah,
It feels it, doesn't it?
yeah,
There's a freshness, there's an anticipation
yeah,
uh, that yeah, we're actually making some really big ground now.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
And for all the, excuse my French, people, but the shit show around us,
yeah,
and it is, there's something sitting behind it that's bigger
yes,
and better and
yes,
brighter and lighter, just
yes,
waiting for this charade to move on through and clear itself.
absolutely. And yeah, I'm very optimistic.
Yeah.
Very optimistic, and we are the creators of New Earth, aren't we? We're the
Yeah.
vision.
Yeah. And that's the next stage, isn't it? That's what we're looking at now. You know, people like you, me, and others, we're beginning to feel that energy come in, and beginning to think, what do we need to do to anchor the new geometries, the new architectures? It's the energies. It starts with the energy forms, and the energy forms then take on physical form, and we are seeing and beginning to dance with the energy
Yeah.
forms at this
Oh yeah.
moment, aren't we?
Yeah.
I'm finding it so exciting.
I mean, even as you're talking just then,
Mm.
I have my star teams. It was almost like they were sort of like clapping or going, yeah, we're near. You
Yeah,
know, we're
yeah,
nearer than you think.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Speeded up as well, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So anybody who's feeling low or feeling like they're overloaded,
Yeah.
just hang there,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. And, you know, come and talk to people like us. You know, because if we can just give you enough of an oomph
yeah,
to make the last couple of
yeah.
miles, we will get you
Don't
over
give
the
up
finish
now.
line, because the finish line is near.
So near. And sort of stay positive, because uh, whatever news breaks, it has to break to be able to pull the old structures down.
Yeah.
You know, so we can create these new structures which we were just talking about. So hang in there. It's going to
Yeah.
be all right. It's
On
going
that
to
happy note,
be.
thank you, Lynn, for another fascinating and thought-provoking conversation. I'm sure we'll have many more in the future.
You will.
Um, I hope I don't look too green about the fact you're sitting in the sunshine and warmth.
Well, you'll be there in a month.
Yeah, I'm going out with a couple of friends to join Lynn fairly shortly. There's some work to do around the new it is around the new and I can't wait. I can't wait for all sorts of reasons. So yes, I shall be seeing Lynn very shortly. But in the meantime, thank you, Lynn. And
Welcome.
thank you everyone who's been watching, and we'll be back for some more fabulous Starseed conversations at some point in the future. Thank you.
Bye.